Okay, perfect. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those that don't know me, my name is Shannon, and I'm the current president of the Ontario Association of Fire Educators. Brianna, our secretary, is in charge of the Zoom this morning. And I also just want to call out Scott Pugsley from Seneca College. He is a director from the OMFPOA. So thank you to the OMFPOA for partnering with us again this year for this series of webinars featuring Laura King from NFPA. Just a couple housekeeping notes before we get started. So we do not have technical support on this call. So if you do have any issues with any tech or volume, audio, that type of stuff, please just throw a note in the chat and we'll jump in and try and help out as best as we can. Speaking of tech, please ensure that you are muted throughout the presentation. I know sometimes Laura will ask for input, and at that point, please feel free to unmute and speak up. But again, just want to make sure that everybody is on mute throughout so that we don't have any background disruptions and that type of stuff. We do have an evaluation. So in the link, or sorry, in the chat window, there will be a link for the evaluation. I know Laura appreciates the feedback, as do we, in terms of what you thought about the session. Suggestions for future training, all that type of stuff. So the link will be in the chat window. And at the end of the evaluation, once you hit submit on the thank you page, if you do want a certificate of attendance, there will be a link there that you can request that as well. Brianna is recording the session, so we will have that available on the YouTube channel, the OAFE YouTube channel, in the near future. No promises on timing, but we'll try and get out there as soon as we can. I just want to give Scott an opportunity to do a welcome if you like. So Scott, if you're available.
Certainly. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think this partnership and collaboration with all these groups, the OAFC and NFPA, is a really important one, just to help amplify some of the great messaging that I know Laura is going to be able to share with everyone. Information is just one of those simple things that we need to disseminate and share as often as possible. And I think that's maybe just my full-time job coming out, that, I try to do that as often as I can, and I'm glad to see such a wide array of attendance and attendees today. So I'm personally excited to be able to hear Laura talk. So I'm looking forward to it. And there's no infomercial for me. Let's just all keep our ears open and our minds open too.
Awesome. Thanks for working with us again. So on that note, I will turn it over to Laura King. I think most of us are pretty familiar with Laura, but if not, Laura is a regional director from NFPA, and kind of the heart and soul of PubEd for NFPA in Canada. So Laura, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Shannon. Good morning, everyone. I will share the screen, and hopefully the right screen. We almost got there. Not quite. Let's try again. Why the troubles today? Let's try again. There we go. Is that it, Shannon? Full screen? All right, so you can see my little sense of humor this morning. We're going to talk about the new NFPA website and how to access all of the good things that are there, just that they're a little bit difficult to find sometimes. So we launched our website, our new website. It's still nfpa.org, not nfpa.com, nfpa.org, on November 1st. It was supposed to launch last May, so we were a little while behind, and that was due to the e-commerce system. And I'm sure if you've ever experienced the launch of a new website, you're all familiar with the pitfalls, Scott, exactly, that have nothing to do with us and over which we have no control. So we launched the new website in November, around November 1st. And we did a webinar actually about holiday safety tips and whatnot, I believe shortly thereafter. So some of you have seen how we navigate the website, but that was sort of specific to the holiday safety messaging. So we're going to look at some of the other messaging, how to best find it, how to access it, and then, pardon me, we'll just look at some of the resources, where they are, how they've changed, what's new, some stuff for fire prevention officers, some stuff for fire and life safety educators, and lots of stuff for everybody. So for those of us in the field, as we call the regional directors, so I have 7 counterparts in the United States, we do this all the time. We're on the website using it very differently than people would if they're looking to buy a product, for example. So our objective is to find the public education material and help you guys access it easily, efficiently, and then know where to find it going forward. So it's been a journey, to say the least, and I think we've got it down pat now after lots of work with our technical and website teams. So away we go. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to look first at the new NFPA 1030, which is a consolidated standard. So many of you would be certified to NFPA 1035 and or 1031, and possibly some others, but we've talked about this. We did look at it, I think at the end of last year, but I wanted to just bring it to your attention because some of you may not have been on that session. That will just be quick. We're going to look at the lithium ion resources. So when we put out the blurb, or when Shannon put out the blurb and Scott for this session, lithium ion batteries was the first few words. And I got lots of messages from people saying, hey, I can't attend, but are you recording it? Because we're interested in the lithium ion stuff. So I am focusing on that because it's certainly the hot topic right now and everybody's looking for information. So we'll have a look at where to find all that stuff. We'll look at some tip sheets, our safety in the city resources and messaging, the lesson plans, some new ones and where they are, and then a bunch of fact sheets for fire prevention officers that they're not difficult to find if you know what to search, but they're good tools that you may not have known existed, and then a couple of programs. So I'm not going to fill an hour and a half, but by all means, let's talk, ask questions. If you see something that you like or don't like, or you've struggled with the website, let me know, and we'll have some fun as we go through it. Scott, I can see you. If you'd stay on camera and just let me know, or Shannon, if there are.
She's sitting there and she
at any time. Sorry, if we can just make sure everybody's muted, you guys. All right, thank you very much. All right, so let me know if there are questions or comments, and I'll pause every once in a while to take a drink of water and we can have a look there as well. So that's me over the last couple of weeks trying to find all this stuff on the website. And I've been going back and forth with Shannon, just shaking my head, but I think we've wrestled it to the ground and it all makes sense. But just like when you get a new phone or a new laptop, it's much better when someone shows you or walks you through it than when you try to navigate it by yourself or on your own. So, all right, so let's go. So the NFPA 1030 standard. So as, again, many of you are certified as fire and life safety educators as to 1035, and many others of you as inspectors to 1031. So NFPA has been going through this consolidation process since 2020, and we're almost at the end of it. So the standard that now includes 1031, 1035, and 1037, which is fire marshal, but fire marshal in the US sense, not the Canadian sense, is now 1030. It's a 2024 standard, but it's already up and already available. However, the learning institutions that teach the courses, I still have months. I don't recall what the deadline is to complete their new curriculums and whatnot. So people who are doing 1035 now would still be certified using the old curriculum and using the old, it's not old, it's the previous curriculum and the previous JPRs and whatnot. And then once the learning institutions come on board, it will be based off of the new curriculum from the new IFSTA manual, and including some of the new information from this edition of the standard. Not much has changed in terms of 1035. There are a few changes in 1031. You will still be certified to 1031 or 1035. They're incorporated into 1030. So the only thing that changes for new fire and life safety educators, for example, is it's just a bit of a broader definition, and I'll show you that in a moment. You still would be certified to 1035. So it's all a bit confusing, but not as confusing as some people have made it sound. So if you use NFPA link in your fire department, you can easily access the standards, or you can see them through free access. If you do nfpa.org/1030, it will take you to the standard. You scroll down, you go free access, and then you just flip through. It's not particularly user-friendly or interactive, but you can see it. Okay, so it is new. It's a consolidated standard. We're consolidating a whole bunch of professional qualification standards so that it's a more streamlined process. There are fewer standards and it makes more sense, and it's not all this duplication. So 1031 Fire Inspector is now Chapter 7 in 1030. Fire and Life Safety Educator is Chapters 9 through 13 in 1030. And the Fire Marshal one, again, which is the Fire Marshal in the American sense, Chapters 4 and 5. So what's the change? The change for fire and life safety educators is in the general requisite knowledge section, which is 9.2.1. And you can see where I've highlighted in yellow, and it actually isn't too bad, what's been added. So all of this, the other stuff that's listed here was previously in the standard. So you have to know things like fire behavior, educational methodology, instructional techniques, behavior, that kind of thing. But they've added, finally and thankfully, social media platforms. This is an American, language, but still current homeland safety and security topics. People first language. So this is the critical change in this standard, so that when you're speaking to groups, you're being inclusive. Rather than using certain terms that we may have used previously. You all know this, but it's now part of the standard. Social and cultural trends, so that you understand the way people live their lives and their practices. Cultural competence, which just is building on that. So a little bit more about how we work with the people who are our audiences, and particularly our identified target audiences. So I think that's all good. Those are not bad changes, they're good. And those are sort of worked into the JPRs. So if you're having to do a presentation to be evaluated on in your course, those things would have to be included, okay? And then the general requisite skills for fire and life safety educator has changed just a little bit. So in 2015, verbal and written communication, managed time, and multitask. And that's just been expanded to include public speaking or prioritizing tasks and the ability to effectively communicate with people across different cultures. And you're going to see that in 1031 as well. I didn't pull all that because it's in a whole bunch of different places, but it doesn't affect you. It's just for your next group of people going through 1031, be aware of that. And this is just in the origins page of the standard for 1030. So this refers to everybody, to be more inclusive and culturally competent, to be aware of behavioral and mental health aspects of youth fire setting. And one little thing I'll tell you, so we used to call it youth juvenile fire setter, and now we're calling it youth fire setting, so that it's not a label that ends up pinned on the individual, rather it's a noun, right? Youth fire setting. Use of social media platforms, and then the process of community risk reduction has been incorporated into the whole standard. So just catching up really to what's going on in our society and in our cultures. So I think that's all wonderful. And this is the new edition of the standard, but it's available now. And like I said, once the learning institutions catch up and they have lots of time to do that, then this will be all incorporated into the courses. Just a couple things on the inspector. So 1031. Pardon me, Fire Inspector 3 has been eliminated. It's just been incorporated into the other two, and there's a new section and 3 JPRs plus the annex material on the consolidated legal aspects of fire inspectors, which I think is good. So understanding legal proceedings, initiating legal actions, and understanding policies and procedures for the delivery of inspectional services for the level of authority and responsibility of the position. So they're focusing a little bit more on the legal aspects of the job. There are several changes, but they're all fairly minor. In every section of the standard, there is a crosswalk that shows you what was in the previous, what has changed from the previous edition to the new edition. You can see that through free access or through NFPA link. All right. Any questions on that, Shannon? It's kind of, I don't know, mysterious to some people, but it's not that complicated.
I'm sure there's a ton of questions, but okay, there's one in the chat. Can we be certified to 1031 and 1035 still, or is the certification now 1030?
It will be 1031 and 1035. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right, good, thanks. Okay, so keep putting questions in the questions in the chat. Did you hear that? If you have them as we go. Perfect. Yes, exactly. All right, the new NFPA.org. So if you've been there, you may have been a little surprised by what you see. So it is sort of the new way to build websites, very supposedly, and I think it is now, user-friendly and really search-driven. So for us, the issue was, if you don't know what you're looking for, how are you going to find it? Right? But you know, our regional operations team are all of a certain vintage. And I think that people who are of a different vintage may be more familiar with and comfortable with the search-driven websites. So on the former NFPA website, if you hovered your mouse over public education at the top, and you're all familiar with that, you would get this giant menu of everything. So lesson plans and tip sheets and programs and steps to safety, remembering when, and all that. That's not there anymore. So to me, it was kind of like, oh, well, you've got to know what you're looking for to find it, but there is more logic to it than that. And there is now more guidance about how to find things. So we'll walk through some of that. So this is the homepage now of NFPA.org. This is what it looks like today. So today's top story or a big topic there is a piece from our NFPA Journal magazine about supercharged homes. Fascinating piece. You should all read it because it's going to affect every one of you. And it's about energy storage systems in homes, which is, you know, that next step, right? We're all talking about EVs. We're talking about micromobility devices, and the Panasonic and Tesla and every other battery manufacturer are advertising and promoting energy storage systems for your home, going off the grid and powering your home with lithium-ion batteries. So, you know, to us as an industry, no one came to us and said, oh, hey, how does this affect you guys? What are the risks here? No one's done that. They've just gone ahead and you know, offered these products to consumers who, of course, trust that if a product is on the market, then it's going to be safe. For the most part, it's safe, but things can go wrong. And when they do, they can go horribly wrong, as you all know, because you've all been listening to this stuff for a few years now. So this is what the website looks like. It's nice and clean. Across the top, you have the About NFPA for professionals. So this is your training, also standards, education and research, which is for most of us where we want to focus our attention, news and articles, membership, and events. So easy drop-down menus. You do have to click now rather than hover. Pardon me. And there's always the live chat over here on the right. So if you need guidance or help, feel free to go there or call me, one or the other. So here's our area of focus, which is education and research. If you click on education and research, it will take you to an area that I'll show you in a minute, but the logic behind it is that those categories across the top are topic hubs, and they feature related content and specific topics that you may need or be interested in. And according to our web team, the intent is to get you where you want to go faster by providing better visibility to the the information that matters to you. So it does make sense. It's just a little bit of a different approach. So if we go back to education and research here, you will see a menu that comes up, but it's not nearly as extensive as the menu used to be. So this is our area of focus, home fire safety. And you'll see that the thinking is not to put every category of home fire safety here and then have to scroll through it. Rather, some of the key issues, which are smoke alarms, escape planning, and cooking, of course. And then we added, after about 3 weeks, we added see all home fire safety information, is that will take you to a larger menu. So when you're looking for stuff, this is where you want to go for fire prevention and public education. You want to go to education and research, home fire safety. And then if it's not one of these 3 topics, smoke alarms, escape planning, or cooking, you'll want to go to see all home fire safety information. So if we do that, we end up here at this page that is not very pretty, but it's basic. It's a home fire safety information. Here's my first tip of the day. First tip of the day is on every page like this, you're going to see results per page. Always click on the 48 and then always click on the list. Because if you click on the icons, you get sort of this out of sync page with all kinds of stuff on it. If you click on the list, it's nice and pretty and symmetrical. And if you're all like me, you like pretty and symmetrical, right? And it's easier to scroll through. So I find that that helps immensely. And what that looks like, let me just see. Where's my, okay. All right, that was just a tip. Okay, so I wanted to show you as well before we move on to what's on that page. If you're doing a search on the website, so we got this great search box up at the top. It's much larger and easier to see than it was on the previous site. So if you search for safety tip sheets, for example, if you search for safety tip sheets, for example, you will find these two boxes, articles, research, and more, and it shows you that there's 95 hits or products, and it shows you that there are 6. So for our purposes, we always want to be in articles, research, and more. Products are things you can buy, so things that we have for sale. So you wonder, what tip sheets do we have for sale? We have notepads of tip sheets that you can tear off rather than print out. And that's what's for sale, and that's what the products are. You don't want to buy those from NFPA because you would have to pay duty and US dollars. Those same things, those same items would be available through the Fire Hall bookstore and possibly the Fire Marshal's Public Fire Safety Council. So if you see those and come across them and think, oh, wow, that would be great for my open house or whatever, and that's way better than printing them, and you have the budget, then find them through either the Public Fire Safety Council or Fire Hall bookstore, and that will be more cost effective for you. All right. The other thing you can do is sort by relevance here in this box. So it'll give you relevance or the titles or the dates. So that will help you, pardon me, refine your searches. And again, over here, click the 48 and the list. And then you can refine further over here. So see where we're looking for safety tip sheets up at the top. And then there are the subtopics over here. So that's all really helpful, but it's always, I don't see that kind of stuff when I'm looking on a website. I'm just laser focused on what I want. So it's helpful when someone shows that to me, I find. Yeah. So if we don't sort by lines, rather, if we don't sort and we are looking at icons, this is what comes up, and it's a very long page because there are 96 of them, right? And they're not symmetrical and they're not in any really kind of order. They are right now in the relevance order. So we've got cold weather and home heating, so that makes sense. As we go on into spring, we may get information about flooding, for example, and then in the summer we'll get barbecuing and electricity around pools, those kinds of things. So it should all default to that as people look for those kinds of things. But if you do it by the line items, this is nice and even and symmetrical and pretty. So I like that one better. All right. Okay, so we're back here to the fire and life safety. Oh no, I did a search for candle safety here just to show you and give you an idea. So if we search in the search box for candle safety, for example, and we see that we're in articles, research, and more, and it gives us 8 options and no products. So we have no products. We don't have any of those tear sheets for the candle safety. And it just gives you a nice, clean search result. And again, if you do it, well, we only have 8, but if you were to do it here, it just gives you a cleaner look. So if we were looking for social media about candle safety, you can refine it over here. So we could do tip sheets or news releases or social media or stats. And if we click the social media, you'll get the social media images for candles. So you just have to think about what you want. And, you know, it's hard to know if we have it because there's no menu that lists it all like it used to. Many of you have been around for a while and you're familiar with the products and familiar with the resources. So just think back to, you know, oh, I think they have social media cards, but then you have to go looking for the social media cards. It's just not in front of you on that big menu like it used to be. So again, I'm sure many of you guys are more tech savvy than me and more used to this, but use that refine by box over on the left-hand side, and that will help you immensely. So any questions, Shannon?
Nothing yet, unless anybody has anything that they want to share or ask.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll look at the lithium ion resources. We've gone over some of this previously, but it's many webinars ago. And I think it's critical. I get literally, between 5 and 10 calls or emails a day about lithium ion stuff. So very much, and it's just going to, we're in the winter in Canada. As we move into spring, it will be more of an issue with the micromobility devices. If you haven't seen it and experienced it, you certainly will. So I'm just going to move this. So first of all,
sorry, Laura, a couple of questions just came in there before you move on. Are all of these available in French?
Not all of them, no. So the messaging document that I'm about to show you is available in French, and I'll show you where to go get the French materials. We're working on where we have a tip sheet, for example, in French, and we do have the lithium ion one in French and generator safety right now in French. We're working on getting it on the main part of the website where you would see a tip sheet and then it would say English, Spanish, French. Some of them are there and some aren't. And then there's another section that is tip sheets in other languages. And you can go there and then scroll to French and they're there. They're a little mixed up at the moment, but we're almost there and getting them better organized. So, but not everything is available in French. We're working with ATPIC in Quebec, which is the Fire Prevention Officers Association, to have resources translated, and we've put money in the budget this year to do that. So if there is something, especially for you folks in Eastern Ontario, that you would like to have translated, let me know and we can get it translated. The challenge for us is then getting it made into the graphic element. So if it's a tip sheet, then the translation needs to be put on the tip sheet and the graphics have to be accommodate the generally longer French translation. So we have to play with it a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of time or money, but we just need to be persistent. So if there are things that you want translated into French, let me know.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. And just one more question. Someone doesn't have the refine section on the website and they're asking if it has to be turned on somewhere.
Oh my goodness, no, not that I'm aware of. Okay, let me look into that. And if we have time, we can go live to the website afterwards and just check on that and see what's making that happen or not making that happen. I wonder if it's because you have to do a search. So if you put something in the search bar and then click the magnifying glass to search it, then the refine bar probably comes up. We'll check on that. Thanks. Okay.
That's all the questions. Thanks, Laura.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll move on to lithium ion. So you all know that, there we go. Our messaging is all in the educational messaging desk reference. And of course, there it is. I don't know how well you can see that with my NFPA background there. That I hope you all have on your desk or on your desktop. So if you're in the website and you're looking for the desk reference, if you just search educational messaging, so it's not a category anymore. It used to be a category in that big menu. It's not there anymore. So just search it and you'll come to this box here. You click read more and it takes you directly to the desk reference. So this is what it looks like. You're all familiar with it, or I certainly hope you are. And in 2020, we expanded the section on lithium ion batteries. So all of the messaging in the resources that I'm about to show you comes directly from the EMAC, as we call it, which is the Educational Messaging Advisory Committee. So it's really the name of the committee, not the document, but we still just default and call it the EMAC because, like you, we like the acronyms and it just makes it easier and shorter. So all of the messaging in all of the resources comes from here. And again, we consulted with and worked with and partnered with organizations that create and manufacture batteries and battery safety associations to develop this messaging. So chapter 20 starts here and goes on for several sections. We added a new message in 2020, remove the batteries from an e-cigarette before placing in a pocket or purse, which no one does. And then, of course, battery disposal. So we are starting the process now of reviewing the 2020 EMAC to develop a new one this year by the end of 2024. If you have come across messaging you don't like, or you can't find messaging because it's not in the EMAC, let me know and we'll put in a submission to add or change or revise the messaging. There's a form on the website. You just have to search EMAC form and it will come up, and then we submit it, but it takes 2 seconds. It's easy. So I want to add a section on holiday safety messaging because we don't have that as a section. There are some messages that use the word state instead of region, for example, that I want to refresh, and a bunch of other little things, and some updating of some of our smoke alarm messaging, because our smoke alarm messaging says, test your smoke alarms at least monthly. And every manufacturer, and Scott, I'm looking at you and some others, but I believe every manufacturer, because I've gone through them all, says in the instructions to test your smoke alarm weekly. So I just replaced all mine because I was woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning by the carbon monoxide, all my interconnected alarms, all 8 of them. It's lovely. Anyway, so that will be a topic of conversation and discussion among the EMAC members, the committee members. So throw something in the chat if you want to talk about that afterwards, because that would be a huge change. I don't know if it'll be accepted, but I'm certainly up for the debate and the conversation. Okay, so we're going to update all of that, and there will certainly be additions to the lithium ion messaging. All right, so that takes us back here. So how do we find all of that lithium ion messaging? We go to education and research on the homepage, nfpa.org. And over here to e-bike safety is where we'll start today. So just because it's right there and it's easy to find, and it is, again, the hot topic. So e-bike safety is really micromobility safety. So if we click there, and it's not a hover, it's a click. If we click there, it takes us to this page, nfpa.org/e-bikes, which we developed probably about a year ago or so. So down here, this is the top of the page. Down here, you will find the safety tips, the history of e-bikes, FAQs, and then lithium-ion battery safety, which takes us off to another section on lithium-ion battery safety. So right now we're in the micromobility area with the e-bikes and e-scooters. So we have the e-bike and e-scooter safety tip sheet here. Notice that it's got the space down at the bottom for your department logo. So you do have to find someone who's able to drop that in graphically. It's just a PDF, but so it shouldn't be an issue. And it has no data in it. So that's the good thing. Because oftentimes, of course, the tip sheets you've seen over the years have had American data. They don't work well for us. So we made sure that that was not the case. And we do have the Fahrenheit and Celsius temperatures here. So that's terrific. So it's all accurate. It's all been vetted. Some of the tips that are there, right? Only buy listed equipment, follow manufacturer's instructions, only use appropriate chargers, don't overload the circuit, gives you the temperature for storing, and keep away from exits, which is the critical message for those micro mobility devices, particularly the bikes and the scooters. Pardon me, there's more tips in there than that. I've just pulled out some of the highlights. So, I've worked with fire departments from coast to coast that are using this tip sheet to provide to landlords of buildings. Sometimes they've been asked to go literally door to door and shove them under the doors for tenants so that they can see what the challenges are and what the issues are. You can extract from this and use the messages on social, of course. You can put them up in recreation centers in your municipality, which may allow you to do that because you're part of the municipality. You can hand them out where people go. So where are we seeing the e-bikes and e-scooters? Uber Eats delivery folks are using the e-bikes and what would the word be? Revising or tinkering with perhaps the batteries in order to get longer battery lives. Or longer charges out of the batteries because they work a long shift. And those are some of the things that we know lead to the problems. So in restaurants, perhaps, or places where they are delivering, or the Uber drivers come in and pick them up, or whatever it is, the other kinds of food delivery places. So this is all up to date. And this one is not in French. So this would be a good one to have translated. So I'm making a note. I've made previous notes, but we do have the lithium ion battery one in French that I'll show you in a minute. All right, so that's that one, and have repairs done by qualified professionals, of course. So we know what the issues are. It's overcharging, so that if you're using chargers that didn't come with the device, of course, they may not be able to regulate the charge or stop the charge when the battery is fully charged. So it's putting too much energy in and the battery is not able to properly disperse the energy and the heat. And that leads to the problems and the challenges. So again, there's the space for your own department logo. So I just wanted to add on to this part, which is only by listed equipment. I know that Toronto Fire Services has sent a letter to Department of Transportation and Health, I believe. And this is direct from Matt Pegg, the chief, and it is directly from the letter. Lithium-ion battery failures are occurring most frequently in uncertified batteries. And he is asking that there be regulations under the Consumer Product Safety Act and Transport Canada to mandate safety and testing standards for all lithium-ion batteries and lithium-ion battery-powered devices and equipment. So we know that some of those batteries and chargers and whatnot that are coming from online ordering services, perhaps, or other manufacturers are not necessarily listed, and that in many cases those are the things that cause the problem. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, make you aware of the fact that CAFC, IAFC, NFPA, Toronto Fire, and just about everybody else I can think of are working on safety for lithium-ion batteries. In New York, they have a bylaw now that says that they can't sell batteries or devices that are not listed. We weren't able to do that in Canada, so this is an alternative to that. So that letter has just went out 2 or 3 weeks ago to the federal departments. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Okay, so where are we? We're back here at the e-bikes page and history of e-bikes. This is just a really good video. I'm not going to play it because it's about 5 minutes long. It's from NFPA, from our Learn Something New series. And it's fascinating if you're talking to any group of people. So if you're a fire prevention officer or fire and life safety educator, and you've got a group of people and you're talking to them about lithium-ion safety, this is a terrific video to show. It's on our YouTube channel as well. You don't have to go to our website to get it. That explains the history of e-bikes, what the challenges are. It's really nicely done, and it's great for all age groups, not little kids, but so probably grade 5 and up. It's good for adults, and good for, again, people who are in condo buildings, apartment buildings, that kind of thing. It's not sensational. It shows a couple of fires, but pardon me, in a good way. So that's there for you. And then the FAQs, which are the same on this page as they are on the lithium-ion battery safety page. So it's just a list. This is a very consumer-facing page. So it's language that you can use when you're doing your workshops, presentations, talking to people. So that will just help you with background and context. And then lastly, over here, the lithium-ion battery safety takes you down to the bottom of the page. You click here, learn more by visiting the lithium-ion battery safety page, and that takes you to the lithium-ion battery safety page. Or if you put that in the search, you're going to come to that page. Questions or comments, Shannon?
Nothing in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so 4 categories here as well. Smaller devices and electronics, the e-bikes and scooters, which we've just looked at, the FAQs, which are the same, and then some additional resources. So the smaller devices and electronics, we have some wonderful resources. So we have a brand new 10-minute lesson plan, which would be of great use to you all. New social media cards, which I am seeing out there. So people are finding them, which is good. And the lithium-ion battery tip sheet, which we do have in French. And I'll show you that momentarily again. But right now you have to go to the tip sheets in other languages to find it. I requested last week that it be moved, and where you find the lithium-ion battery tip sheet, it should say English and French, but it may take another week or so. All right. So the lesson plan, we have trademarked or copyrighted this phrase, charge into fire safety, or you may have seen that some other organizations are using some similar campaigns, which is great. The more the merrier, the more education and public education we have on this, the better. This is for adults who would benefit from learning the important safety practices when handling, charging, and storing lithium-ion batteries. Again, it's just a 10-minute lesson plan, so it guides you through it like all of our lesson plans do. So the introduction, the body, the conclusion. And over here tells you where the messaging came from. So that chapter 20 of the EMAC, and then what you need, maybe the lithium ion battery tip sheet as a handout, and visual aids or images of battery safety symbols. I don't have any open lithium ion batteries that I could find that on. So I'm going to ask about that and see. I have lots of smoke alarms, but not those. So I'll check on that. All right. And then these are the social cards. There are 4 quite good ones. They're pretty basic and simple, and there is space for you to add your fire department logo should you wish. And I'll just show them to you a little bit bigger. So charge into fire safety is that catchphrase. Use only the battery and the charging cord that came with the device. So many of us don't do that. So, you know, the additional messaging that goes with that is if you don't use the charging cord that came with the device, and make sure you're with the device while it's charging. Don't leave it charging overnight. Don't put it on anything soft, put it on a hard surface. So that's the additional messaging from the EMAC, and of course doesn't fit very well in a social media message, but if you're in front of people, those are the additional messages. Do not keep charging the device or battery after it's fully charged. The cord that came with the device will stop the charge when the charge is complete. A cord that comes from somewhere else may not do that. That's the issue, and that's the challenge, and that's where you see your phone or your laptop or whatever it is getting really hot because the charge has not stopped, or the charger has not stopped charging the device, and then the device is unable to dissipate all of the energy and the heat. Shannon, I see there's some additions in the chat, but that could be other things, but I'll just stop just in case so I can take a drink.
No, well, the last one that I see is the refining section on the website. But I did your comment about maybe you have to do a search first. I tried it out and I had the same thing when I went on the website. I didn't have refine, but when I did a search, when the results popped up, the refine popped up on the left-hand side. So that might be the solution.
That seems to make sense. Okay, thank you. We'll all try it. Okay, and the last 2, charge into fire safety, charge your devices on a hard surface. We all know that message loud and clear. And charging an e-bike in a flat, dry area away from children, direct sunlight, liquids, tripping hazards, and in a location where the e-bike is not at risk of falling. So that's a lot of information to give to people, but we did manage to fit it in one social media message, so that's good. You know, pound it out there. Lots of things for people to consider, and that information is probably in the manufacturer's instructions, but we all know most people don't read those. So this is a pretty good one. And this could be, you know, we could change that to e-bike, e-scooter, e-device, whatever, but we were focusing on the e-bikes because of the rates of problems that we've had. So the lithium ion battery safety tip sheet, we again have it in French, your room for your logo. And we've just looked at some of these tips, but all in the tip sheet, which again does not include data and includes the metric measurement. So certainly appropriate for use in Canada. And as you know, that's been a ride, but we're there now, which is excellent. Also on that page, the lithium ion battery page, there is a press release that you can download to provide to your local media if you like about your fire department's work on lithium ion battery safety. It is NFPA focused, of course, and there's a quote, but there's space for a quote from your fire department. And then that could just spur a reporter or an assignment desk to have someone do a story locally on the questions and concerns around lithium ion batteries and those e-devices. So that's good. The FAQs, again, very good consumer facing questions and answers. Written at that grade 6 level always, so that there is easy understanding. And then when you scroll to additional resources or flip over to additional resources on that page, we got more stuff. So hoverboard safety, that tip sheet's been around for a while. It's been updated. There is a whole fact sheet on energy storage systems. This is excellent if your municipality is being asked to install energy storage systems. If you're building anything, there's going to be an energy storage system that goes with it, including apartment buildings, condos, office towers, or the large energy storage systems that are powering the grid or partially powering the grid. So this is a great tool for your building officials, your planning people, your plans approval people, your fire prevention officers. And again, it's, you know, it's generic and good information. And there are free online courses for people who own electric vehicles. I didn't want to go into electric vehicles today because it's more of an operations thing. We have lots of courses. We have free courses and lots of resources about those as well. But this one is for people who own EVs, and it's a free online training course. So all of those are under the additional resources tab on the NFPA website. All right. Okay, yeah, and that's just showing you that that course is at $0. Okay. All right. So
Sorry, Laura, one question before you move on from lithium ion. Someone just asked if there's anything on charging in egress areas.
Yeah, so it says, it should say, oh, it's somewhere. Good question. So I think that is on the e-bike. I'm sure on the e-bike tip sheet, it does say exactly that, not to charge in hallways or egress areas. Yeah, it's there. It's in the messaging, and I know for sure that I came across it in the last week or so as I was looking at all this. Let me flip back.
Sorry, Jeff, can I just ask, were you looking for something on the social cards specifically on the egress?
No, it was just when she went through that tip sheet and she went through some of the points there. I just had the question popped into my head. Was there anything on there with regards to charging in egress? Because it wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, here it is. Store
There it is.
computers and batteries away from exit doors and anything that can get hot or catch fire. Yeah.
Awesome. I knew it was there somewhere, but it just, anyway, thank you.
No, appreciate that. Thanks, Jeff. Nice to hear your voice. All right, sorry to whip through this. It's just easier to do it this way. Okay. And this is where we were. All right. And also, in addition to the EVs, the e-bikes and e-scooters, and the lithium-ion batteries, there is a whole section on the NFPA website on energy storage systems themselves. So in these cases, we're talking about the larger energy storage systems, again, that a utility might install in a neighborhood or in a field. So there is lots of information. There's that fact sheet again, and there are dozens of articles and background information on that subject, which again is sort of for another day because it's beyond the scope of the e-bikes and e-scooters and whatnot. We are doing so much research into all of this. We get asked every day, you know, do we have anything on this or that, or the environmental impact of lithium-ion batteries and safety for firefighters? Absolutely, we do. Our research foundation has done tons of research starting long before 2011. But just to highlight a couple, we're doing right now the environmental impact of lithium-ion battery fires compared to other fires, PPE contamination from lithium-ion batteries and cleaning best practices, EV infrastructure near gas stations, protection of battery manufacturing facilities. And there is now a new energy, pardon me, a new energy storage research consortium, because there's so much information that we need to have. And at NFPA, we don't put out messaging until we've done the full scale testing that supports the messaging. So we don't just make it up or pull it out of the blue sky. It is all based on data and research. So there's lots going on. Lastly, on the lithium-ion batteries, we have a standard. Of course, some of you have seen this before. It's NFPA 855, standard for the installation of stationary energy storage systems, which seems to imply that it doesn't apply to e-bikes and scooters and the smaller lithium-ion batteries. However, we've kind of expanded the annex of the standard in the 2023 edition from the 2020 edition, and all of that good background and information and context is in there now. So this is the place to go to get that information. We're working on the 2026 edition now, and everybody asks about our numbers and letters, and I think I've told you this before. It's 855 because it kind of resembles the letters ESS. That's the only reason, but that helps me remember the number of it. And you can find it here, nfpa.org/855. And if you have questions, you can ask them right here, ask a technical question. And if you scroll down further, you can get to the free access. Okay, so just so that you're aware. And what's key in here for you guys, if this is an area of interest to you, so chapter 15 is 1 and 2 family dwellings and townhouse units. And this is about those energy storage systems that are powering people's homes, that people are putting inside their garages or even within their homes, because the codes are so unclear or absent anything about these kinds of systems. And this is a wonderful sit-down review for any fire department to go over. We're not going to go into it today, but it explains what you might do in these cases. We can't identify them, right? We don't know they're there. Firefighting considerations for lithium-ion batteries, a whole annex there, and a guide for suppression and safety of lithium-ion battery energy storage systems. So tons of information that if your fire department hasn't already reviewed or looked at, some great training day, training night, sitting around the kitchen table, conversations to have, okay? And lastly, I know I said lastly already on this, this is kind of interesting and blew my mind. So this is in the standard. So using electric vehicles to power your house when there is a power outage. I didn't even think this would be a thing, but it is. So the temporary use of an EV to power the house while it's parked in an attached or detached garage or outside shall comply with the manufacturer's instructions and the electrical code. What? And then the temporary use of the EV to power the dwelling while parked in an attached or detached garage or outside shall not exceed 30 days. So this is actually in the standard, and it's a thing. I had no idea it was a thing. So again, you might want to have that conversation in your fire department. All right, questions, Shannon, and then we'll move on to safety tip sheets.
Yeah, there's 2 in here. So the first one, does the consortium include representatives from UL and or CSA?
UL for sure. I'm not sure about CSA, but UL for sure, yes.
And second question, is there any information or opinions from NFPA regarding EV vehicles and charging stations in underground parking?
Yeah, we're getting there. So that is some of the research that we're doing. We do have a research report that focuses on electric vehicles in open parking garages, but we don't have that research yet. So I get this question at least once a week, and I got a response from one of our technical engineers last week that said, at this time, sounds like a firefighter talking into a radio, at this time, we have no data to indicate that charging stations or electric vehicles in underground parking garages are causing problems, issues, or challenges. But again, we haven't done the research, so therefore we don't have the data. I will send you that email just because his language is better than mine, and I'll find that for you, just so you all have it as a matter of record. So bit of a challenge. I got an email last week from a tenant in British Columbia in a condo corp, and the condo corp wants to install EV chargers in every parking spot. If they're regulated, if they're the right ones, shouldn't be a problem, but you know, you need to have the electricians do that, the proper people, you have to do the research. So it is, it's a real pain point for people. Yeah. Not a good answer, but we know it's a pain point and we're doing some of the research on the work. It just may take a while. Okay. All right, safety tip sheets. Thanks, Shannon. Where do we find them? Where are they? So if you do your search for safety tip sheets, in the search bar, you'll see here that there are 95 results, and safety tip sheets will come up first, always here. And then the safety tip sheets in other languages, and then the easy to read handout safety tip sheets in other handouts and safety tip sheets in other languages. So easy to find on the website, and then you just go where you want to go. So 3 are the categories. And again, if you've already done your 48 and your lines rather than your icons up here, things will be easier to see. So this is just showing you, this is how they come up. They're not coming up alphabetically. Once we start using the website more and people are looking for things, so we're seeing, you know, what comes up first, heating safety and space heaters right now at this time of year. Again, that makes sense, right? So they come up by what is the most searched for. And then there they are, finally, the in French version of the lithium-ion battery tip sheet, and the French version of the portable generators tip sheet. We just had the French version of the generators tip sheet done. The province of Nova Scotia came to us and asked us to do this in French about a month ago. and it was up and ready just before the 150 centimeters of snow last week. So wild. Yeah. So my family's in Nova Scotia. They all have generators. And fortunately, they didn't have to use them this time around, but they often do. So those two resources are available. They have been translated, pardon me, by the province of New Brunswick and or our friends with ATPIC in Quebec, and then approved and reviewed by the province of Quebec and at least 2 other entities. So we're making sure that the French language, pardon me, translations are accurate and that they suit all the provinces, because there are some, of course, idiosyncrasies from province to province, but the language that we've chosen to use is acceptable across the board. So those are good. The safety tip sheets in other languages, I went through them all in the last week or so. We don't have as many as I thought we did. And we used to have a great big list on the website of different languages. So again, if there are things that you're seeing, I got a note from a fellow today in Waterloo asking for some tip sheets in certain languages, but he didn't say which ones. So I'll go back to him this afternoon. So if we know you want it and we can make a case for it, then we're happy to do it. So let us know. And again, these are the easy to read tip sheets. This is in Polish, I believe. And, you know, we have the province of Saskatchewan doing a bunch of safety tip sheets and other resources in many First Nations languages. So if you're looking for those ever, let me know. We don't have them all. And this is just an easy to read safety tip sheet on smoke alarms, which has far less text than our regular safety tip sheets. So feel free to use those as well. Okay, so send me notes and ask me questions and suggest and recommend, and that's how we get things done. And it's far better for me if it comes from you guys, and then I can send it along to NFPA and we'll get the support for it that way. Okay, anything on that, Shannon?
No, just one comment from Scott. He wants to know what size the battery is that's powering a house for 30 days.
I know, right? I know. Good question. Very valid. Okay, so a little section I wanted to show you here, which is safety in the city for those of you who are in urban centers. We have the tip sheets that we've always had on high-rise apartments and condos. Again, no data. So these are, you know, because we talk so much and so often our campaigns are directed at people in single family homes. So I wanted to make sure you're aware that we have these. They're on the safety tip sheets page, or you could search directly high-rise apartments and condos, and it will take you directly to this tip sheet. There's another one, fire alarms in apartment buildings. And again, all the information taken from the EMAC and on the tip sheets. I do find the tip sheets are text heavy, and some of these will be available in the easy to read or the pictograms as well. Okay. And fire alarm systems in apartment buildings, there is a mini lesson plan. So a 10-minute lesson plan that explains how you would address this issue if you had an audience, which is terrific. Okay, there's also a fairly new fire safety in the city video. I'm not going to play it. It always sticks for me. It's great. It's suitable for all ages. And again, if you're doing workshops and presentations, it's a great tool. It's on our YouTube page and it's on our website. And there is a package of information that looks like this, which is a fairly new in the last 6 months handout for people who live in apartments or high rises, which is really nice because again, so often our resources are directed at people in single family homes. So this is something that you can use to complement that. And you can find that at sparkyschoolhouse.org, not on nfpa.org. So always go to Sparky Schoolhouse if you're looking for something that is education based, and you can't find it at nfpa.org, or sparky.org is the other. And this is just a bigger picture of what it looks like. This comes from this originated from our Fire Prevention Week, pardon me, theme a couple of years ago. You may be familiar with the graphics. Okay, so a really, really great resource. All right, the lesson plans, where do we find those? Again, just do a search for lesson plans and it takes you directly to the lesson plans page. There are all kinds of them. I'm just showing you a few to remind you that they exist and that they are all similar in nature, with an introduction and a main part of the lesson plan, and then a conclusion tells you what the messaging is from the EMAC, and then also tells you what supplies you'll need. So these are so great. If you're in a smaller department and you don't have full-time educators, Great to help the firefighters learn and guide them, and great for you guys as well, and gives you the hook and again the tools that you might need. Also good to practice. So there are a whole bunch of them. These are just 3, but they're on several topics. I think there are 15 or more of them, and we've added the lithium-ion battery one, right? Okay, our steps to safety program. Again, you used to be able to see remembering when right on the screen when you hovered your mouse over public education. No longer the case, so just search steps to safety. It's the new program. Pardon me, the updated version of remembering when. So it is fire and falls prevention for older adults. This is my friend Dory. She is the same age as me, and she's all made up there. She's with Regina Fire, or Saskatoon Fire, pardon me. She's all made up there to look like an older adult. And this is Stan Barnes, who is, some of you have met at our conferences and expos, a wonderful fire and life safety educator. Oops, sorry. So on that page, you'll see featured resources, program material, and then who our advisory committee is. And I'll just show you that we've updated everything. So this is what the Falls and Fire cards look like. It's part of the program. The program is all explained on the website and the web page. And we've got far more supporting material for people who are providing the program. It looks nicer, it's easier to read, it details the entire program for you, and you don't have to, sort of figure out anything on your own. We have guides and checklists, and everything is free to download and free to print. It's a commitment, steps to safety. It's something that you would want to do with partners in your community. I know Brampton has looked at it and some others, but if you're interested, we can go through it, and I have some training that I can do for you. So again, just nice, updated, more relevant, and more in tune with what older adults look like today. We've got some new social media assets for this, again, all on that program. And this is just a couple of them. So again, more current, more attractive, more streamlined, right? So life is a balancing act, which is a great piece of information about falls. And then this one cracks me up, but you have to have the context, right? So there's the NFPA sense of humor, maybe. All right. Okay, fact sheets. So these are terrific tools for everybody, and we'll look at a few that sort of cover a very broad spectrum here. So if you search fact sheets, you will find that there are 35 of them up here. They're all free to download, so there's not products that you would buy, which is great. And here are a couple. So there's a fire extinguisher fact sheet, fire pump basics, construction site fire safety. So just about anything that you can think of. Again, they're not sort of listed anywhere on the main menu. So you have to go and do the search and take a couple of minutes and poke around. So I'll show you in a little more detail. Once you do the search for fact sheets, it does show the refine by box, and then you can choose. So if you could choose building and life safety, fire protection systems, research, whatever it may be. So our research team does fact sheets as well. All right. So this is fire extinguishers, location and placement. So if you're a fire prevention officer, a good tool for landlords or anybody in a building, commercial space, whatever it may be. So this is all information from the standard NFPA 10 on portable fire extinguishers, right? Very familiar, nice and easy to read and easy to see, and standard across the board. Fire and smoke damper basics. Again, for landlords, this is all about HVAC. Some of it from NFPA 96 from commercial kitchens, and some of the other standards, but nice and easy to read, really streamlined and efficient, something you can print easily. Food truck safety, which is a great one as we ease, of course, into spring. I say that with all the optimism in the world. This is a really good one. If you search food truck safety, or just food truck on the site, you'll get all kinds of information similar to what happens with the lithium-ion page. But this is great stuff. We're asked about this all the time as well, and so many things to consider if you've got food trucks coming to your municipality. And I think we also have pardon me, some municipalities that have done some research and done some work, SOPs, SOGs, and whatnot, that we can lead you to. So some really thorough information here on that kind of thing. And a great tool, free to download. So some of the others: construction site safety, warehouse safety, hot work safety, fire alarm basics, and occupant load. And this is page 1 of the occupant load fact sheet here. I think there's 4 pages to that one. So again, really good for fire prevention teams. All right. And then a couple of opportunities. So Shannon, any questions on all that? First, I'm going to move off the website just briefly.
There's nothing in the chat, at least to the group chat. So if anybody has anything, throw it in there now.
Yeah, okay, this will just take a minute and then we'll have time at the end. So Fire and Life Safety Educator of the Year is the first opportunity, which is wonderful. Some of you may know Denise Hines, who received this award a few years ago. It was just before COVID, 2018, I believe. Samantha Hoffman received it in 2014, I think. And the other Canadian is Ray McMullen, who was with Calgary Fire at the time. So we've had several Canadians be honored with this award. The criteria is on the website if you search Fire and Life Safety Educator of the Year, and the deadline to apply is March 28th. So I know there are some Brampton people on the line. We've talked about this before. Nominations as a team, nominations as individuals. You are all eligible for this award. There is a fair amount of work to be done to complete the application process, but I can help you with that. And obviously, NFPA looks at the use of NFPA programs and materials and the creative use of those programs and materials when it is vetting the applications. So there are lots of ways to do this. You all use NFPA materials. The other thing that's being considered these days, of course, is community risk reduction. You've all in your fire departments have had to do community risk assessments. If you haven't done it yet, it's due by, not you, but the department or the municipality, it's due by July, your first one. Many of you already have them. So if you're using your community risk assessment as a tool to develop your public education and fire prevention programs, and you correlate that in your application or nomination rather, then that's a really good thing. And again, I can help with that. So I highly encourage you as teams of fire and life safety educators and as an association to consider nominating your peers. It's a wonderful thing, and the person who receives the award gets to go to the NFPA conference and expo and receive the award at the Stars at Night Gala, which I've never been to. You have to be invited because, of course, we have, what, Scott, we're going to have 8,000 people at the CNE this year, the conference and expo. So it's a couple hundred people who get invited to this gala. So if we had a Canadian person nominated and then that Canadian person was chosen, maybe I'd get to go to the gala. So there you go. So consider that, you guys. We still have some time, and I'm very happy to help you with the nomination. Okay. And the second one is Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition Canada. Several of you have benefited from the $500 stipends that are awarded to fire departments across the country. There are 20 this year. There have been 20 for the last number of years. I know Caledon, Richmond Hill, Scugog, several have received them over the last couple of years to promote the benefits of home fire sprinklers in 1- and 2-family homes. And of course, there is nothing that prevents anyone from installing sprinklers in a home. But we're still working with fire departments and developers and whatnot to get that message across. And these are just a couple of examples here. We have launched, actually, we don't have the social media up yet, but we have launched the application period for the stipends. This is from last year. It's up on the website now. And this is Christie's post from last year, could have been even the year before, just showing how Scugog used the money to develop and have the graphics put on the tent or canopy to use at their events to promote the use of home fire sprinklers, which is terrific. So that is at homefiresprinklercanada.ca. And on the homepage, you'll see this banner. You click on the banner and it takes you to the application. So I highly encourage you to do this. There's no time when you have to use whatever it is you apply for the money for. So we have Home Fire Sprinkler Week in May, but you can do whatever you're doing anytime during the year. It can be during Fire Prevention Week. It can be over the summer. It can be with whatever events you have. So we'd really like to hear from some departments that we haven't heard from. The only caveat, and it's not a caveat, is that you must be a Built for Life fire department to apply. All that means is that you register with us being the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition. And then you have access to information about sprinklers or about the stipends before other people, which again makes no difference. It's just so we have your email address. That's really all it is. And we're growing the number of Built for Life fire departments. The commitment is that you include some sprinkler education in whatever you're doing in your public education for the year. That's it. There's no cost, there's no fee. We don't give away your information or anything like that. So there's all kinds of things you can use the stipend for. Scott knows all about this, building a side-by-side display or a riser. And then if that's not sort of your jam, you can show videos on a monitor. You can develop the tent or buy the tent or the canopy. You can boost Facebook posts, that kind of thing. So there's lots of options and I can work with you on that. So highly encourage you to do that. Lots of people on this call today who are very active in the sprinkler side of things, Scott included. So ask away if you have questions. And that, after an hour and 15 minutes of talking, is it. So there's a lot to know about that new website, but it's easily navigatable if you spend some time poking around and use those tips and tricks that I provided, I think, anyway. So holler away, questions, comments, frustrations, anything else you guys have found?
So I don't see anything in the everyone chat, but Brianna, I don't know if there's anything direct to OAFE, or Laura, if there's something direct to you, or anybody, if you have a question, if you haven't put it in the chat, you can also feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Yeah, absolutely. All you people, there's 82 people here and no one has a question.
Hi, Laura, it's Jillian. Thanks for that great presentation. I made tons of notes, but I'm wondering where we can go for some stats. You know, just so that when we're out doing our public education, some of the things that we're going to be talking about is, did you know, right? So sort of more of an awareness, like, did you know that X amount of fires is caused by this? Did you know that, you know, charging your e-scooters in a means of egress has caused X amount of fires? Is there any data right now that we can get, or?
So it's a tricky question. So a couple things. Yes, there is. It's just a little challenging to get. So in Ontario, there was no, and most other provinces, there was no category in the SIRs for lithium-ion batteries, but there is now. So John Pegg and the Office of the Fire Marshal has changed that. So that will help us at least start to gather data, but that's only changed recently. So that data isn't even available yet for a short period, let alone a year. So there's that. I'm sure that Toronto Fire over the last several weeks, and I believe in that letter that Matt sent, sorry, the Chief Peg sent, may have included some data on the numbers of fires. I know I work with Larry Coco all the time on this, and we've presented together several times, and he has had some data on the numbers of fires in Toronto, and it would be in Toronto, but at least that's, you know, a picture that you can give somebody. So I can see if I can get that from Larry and have him provide it so that everyone has that information. If you search lithium-ion battery fires in New York, you will get the numbers. FDNY is really good with its data. You know, is it data we want to share? Yeah, I think so, because it again, it paints a picture and it lets people know, okay, well, this might be a place where, you know, the population is much greater and the use of the devices is much greater, but holy moly, this causes this many fires. So we're like 300 and some odd last year. They're up to, you know, I don't know how many this year, but the numbers are out there. And I think most fire departments now are able to say, you know what, we've responded to 3 lithium-ion battery fires or 3 micromobility device fires. I do see that in their social sometimes, and I'm seeing it in some of these workshops and presentations that we're doing. So Jillian, my commitment to you will be that I will find you some of that data, even if you're able to say, you know, okay, so you're in Caledon, so in this municipality that's a similar size to Caledon, they've had X numbers of fires because of this. I think that sets the scene for people so that they understand. So I will try to do that for you.
That's good. Thank you.
We wouldn't have national data on that yet because nobody is
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
There was a comment in the chat that the NFPA journal has a couple really good articles on that as well.
They do, actually, they're remarkable. And on that lithium ion page under additional resources, I think that's where you'll find those, or just search NFPA journal. Yeah. And read it online, because our hard copy, which only goes out now twice a year, honestly. So I was a magazine editor for years, right? The font in the NFPA journal is about 6 points. So you got to sit with your phone and your magnifier to read it. Yeah.
There was one question, Laura, I think I probably know the answer to this one, is can we get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation?
So actually, I thought about this, Shannon, as I was doing it, because, yeah, you know what, I'm going to turn this one, I'll turn it into a PDF. And again, there's no narrative. I didn't put any comments on the slides, but I think just the ones with the arrows could help a little bit. So I can pull that together. There's no video, so I'll do that.
Okay. And again, this webinar has been recorded, so that'll be available on the web or on the YouTube channel as well. Any other questions from anybody? No? All right, then we'll wrap it up and give everybody back some time in their day. Just a couple notes, things that I guess my 3 tips from Laura for the day. Number 1 is to use the search function. That's how you're going to find everything. Number 2, when you get to your search results, click the 48 so that you get the most results on the page as you can, and to use the list, not the grid, because it's easier to view and scroll through. So those are my big takeaways. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here. OAFE will send the email from the engineer to everyone. So yeah, we will. We have the registration list from everybody that attended. So once we get that from Laura, we can send it out to everybody that way. Reminder that the evaluation, your feedback, the link is in the chat as well. I know Laura always appreciates that. Just a couple other notes before we wrap up, and I'll give Scott an opportunity to jump in here too. From the OAFE side, our AGM notice went out this week. Our annual general meeting and education sessions will be the morning of April 17th. We do have elections that are opening kind of as part of the AGM. So those elections will open on March 4th for nominations. And this year for the 2024 to 2026 term, we have 4 positions open for nominations. So again, similar to Laura's call for nominations for the Educator of the Year, please think about getting involved in the OAFE as well. It's a great way to give back to the industry that we participate in, or that we're part of, I guess. And just a final note, kind of continuing on with this webinar series. So our next dates we tentatively have in the calendar with Laura. They are subject to change based on her travel schedule, but right now we're looking at June 26th, September 25th, and November 27th as the 3 remaining dates for 2024. So Scott, I will give you an opportunity now if there's anything you want to share from OMFPOA.
Sure. It looks like this is the paid announcement portion of the session, or paid advertising, right? It just reminds me of Saturday morning infomercials, or those late night ones. Nothing that exciting. No even jokes from me about those infomercials. So I'm going to be very, very serious. I just wanted to remind everybody that the OMFPOA's symposium is going to be in the beautiful city of Richmond Hill this coming September on the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It's the 8th to the 12th. Again, in the beautiful city of Richmond Hill. Information's been shared more as a save the date, but as that becomes a little bit closer, we'll be able to give you all the rest of the great stuff everyone's accustomed to. And on a closing note, happy Valentine's Day. Give those loved ones that you love a big hug, and while you're hugging them, look at the ceiling and check their smoke alarm. And that's all from me.
Nice.
Information and love.
Perfect. All right. So we'll wrap up there. Laura, I don't know if you have any closing comments.
You know, just the one thing, the one other takeaway, Shannon, if you want something in another language, let me know. We can always do it. It might take time, but we can always do it. So think ahead and let me know.
Okay, perfect. All right, then we'll wrap it up there. Thank you everybody for coming. Hopefully that was useful to everyone as much as it was to me. Again, the evaluation link is, or the feedback link I'll say, is in the chat. Please, I think there's maybe 3 questions, so it doesn't take long, but it definitely helps us as well as Laura to know kind of what you're looking for going forward. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And as Scott said, look at the ceiling when you hug your loved ones tonight.
Thanks, guys.